Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Saturday. I don't know what that is. It seems to be a fold. So it's not a bug, and I don't have a tumor. Saturday, the 29th, 2 Chronicles 32. Hezekiah became sick and was at the point of death. He prayed to the Lord, and he answered him and gave him a sign. But Hezekiah did not respond according to the benefit done to him, for his heart was proud. Luke 17. One of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. Let us pray. Lord, may the fullness of your love both humble me and cause me to be in awe of you. May I not grow tired of singing your praises. When I fail to credit you for the many blessings I've received, cease my pride and increase my thanks. Counting my blessings, may I help others to see theirs as well. Amen. Well, we're coming down to the last quarter of the year. And I don't know about you, but I'm really glad this mess is almost over. Okay. Not that we're going to see that much change, I guess. Anyway, good morning. So, the 5-day. This is going to get interesting. Remember, this is a chronological reading of the Bible, which is pretty cool because it's very different. Jeremiah is not a book written in chronological order. It kind of skips around, all right? And for the next several days, we're going to be doing that. So like today, you're reading chapters 22, 23, and 26, because that's the chronological order. You're going to go back and pick up 25 tomorrow and skip around even more. It's going to be a while before you actually read 24, okay? And that's going to be at the end of a section of chapters that follow it. So it's kind of confusing. Just follow along. And it's really going to bring the book alive to you, because I've enjoyed it because it makes more sense. Because remember, this book is like, it was written on, it was almost like it was somebody just writing on whatever paper was available, and then kind of just putting it together, or I don't want to say it's poorly edited, but that isn't the problem. It's out of order. So to put it back in order, you have to do this hopping around. Jeremiah is starting to, you can see, if you remember from your reading in Kings and Chronicles, that we're coming down to the end of the monarchy in Judah, Jerusalem. And so what's happening is the different groups and waves are being taken off to captivity. And, if you're a little confused, go back to the end of Chronicles and Kings and read about the last kings of Judah, because that's going to help this make more sense. So Jeremiah is prophesying basically doom and destruction, and people don't want to hear it because they want to hear prosperity. So their version of the televangelists were saying, we're going to be fine. And Jeremiah kept saying no, and it's going to be worse on you guys that lie than the poor people that are your victims of a false security. And then how the kings, if the kings had behaved better and repented, they may have avoided it. But God actually is pretty clear. I am not going to save you this time. And it's going to be pretty bad. Okay. So Psalm 77. This is a psalm of Asaph again. And this is God, somebody crying out to God. and about what it you get musically an indication of what it's like to be kind of depressed, as if there isn't any of that going around these days. And then the promise of the redemption of God. So if you're feeling a little blue, this would be a good psalm for you to read. Okay. First of all, you realize you're not alone, that, being depressed and sad when things are not going well, it is a perfectly natural, it's not, I don't want to say it's a sin. Well, I'm going to say it. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a sin. It's just a natural reaction to bad stuff. Okay. The sin is if you don't turn to God and ask for relief. Okay. That's not trusting God to take care of you. So it's perfectly okay to go, wow, this is heavy and I'm kind of sad. But, like anything else, go to God and say, I'm sad and I need your intervention. All right. This is kind of that, to going to God and saying, I'm groaning, I'm not okay, and I need you to help me to be okay. All right. So now we're in James, and let me get to it. Titus, Philemon, Hebrews. Oh, Colossians. Sorry about this. Towards the end of the New Testament, I get kind of wonky on what's what. And anyway, this is the chapter that Luther had problems with. And because it seems like it's going against the Pauline or Paul's statement of, works do not count towards righteousness. Okay. And yet James point blank says faith without works is dead. He's not disagreeing with Paul. Okay. So get that out of your head right now. This is not a contradiction. Faith is counted to us in spite of or in place of works. We can't work our salvation. However, once saved, what James is getting at is the natural reaction of being saved or coming to faith or having faith awakened, or whatever you want to say. The natural outpouring of that is works. A substantial faith is a faith that works. It doesn't just sit there. Now, those of you from Chestertown that are watching, you know that you sat in the pew and heard me say stuff like this. The Abilene folks and some of the others have probably not heard it yet, or if they did, not as much. Lutherans, by and large, are not big on doing works. I mean, we do. I'm not going to say that we're just heartless human beings. But we kind of come across with this attitude that I don't want God to think that I'm trying to work my faith, so I'm not going to do too much. All right. In the past, there's been this attitude of not being required to do that. Okay. Now, some people are just natural at it. All right. Got that. But we're all to cultivate a life of good works, not to save us. All right. And that's not what James is saying here. What James is saying is we are cultivating a life of good works because it's the natural outflow of our faith. So if our faith is strengthened, if we constantly ask God to grow our faith, make our faith stronger, as our faith grows, we become kind of habitual good workers. And you can see this. Think of the people close your eyes for a minute and think of the people that you know that appear to have a really strong faith, and then look at their life. Their life is one of service. Okay. And it varies from faith giant to faith giant. Some of them are really good at hospitality. I'm thinking of one woman in Arkansas. I mean, she was constantly having a house full of people, and a Bible study or a game night or something, just really into that. Another one, and I'm picking on Arkansas because that church had like more people over 70 and 80 than any church I've ever served at. And that was the bulk of the congregation. So there were a lot of mature saints there. There were some very immature saints in old bodies, but, some of them were encouragers. Some of them, were good teachers. Some were worshipers. I mean, I think of the woman who was kind of the choir director. I mean, she lived for the music, but wasn't arrogant about it. I mean, she was just a lovely person. Some of them were just really gentle folk, who just, you could just tell, just loved the Lord. And that's what James is getting at. However, God has wired you to be a human being, because you're a Christian, if you're exercising your faith, there should be this natural outpouring of just joyous good works. Okay. However you're blessed. All right. I'm thinking of some of the people in Chestertown. Some of you are just fabulous gardeners, and you're so gracious about sharing your bounty. I'm thinking of one lady in particular that just gorgeous sewing arts. I don't know what else to call it. And she's very generous. And I'm sure if somebody said, could you teach me that? She would, Others are very administratively oriented, and their good works consists of organizing things. All right. Some people just love serving at the church most days. I'm particularly thinking of, in several of the churches I've served, the altar guild people that just really, really dedicate themselves to the good works of preparing the sanctuary for worship. Things like that. Okay. So James is all over this. And then he uses Rahab the prostitute as an example of an amended life. All right. And because of the amended life, she did good works. Okay. So, the 1 year Bible. Okay. So Job is hard at it again. We're looking at, let's see, Job 28, 29, and 30. Okay, so this is another long reading. But this one is, he's turned his attention to God, that only God can save him. All right. And then his change of circumstances, that he can't rely on the people of this world to give him comfort, to give him help. He has to rely on God. And actually, for me, this is one of the more beautiful passages of Job, because it talks about the human condition, that when things happen to us that are not okay, a majority of people will kind of kick you when you're down. It's like in their relief of not being the victim, they become the stalker, okay, or they become the aggressor. So this to me is just, it's just really comforting to me. All right. And I don't know if it is to everybody, but because it's kind of sad, really, it says something about the condition of humanity, that instead of lifting up Job, they kicked him and abused him. But the beginning of that section is all about, I can trust God. God will hear me. God will listen to me. That's where my salvation, my victory lies. But then the second half of this reading is all about the why God is. All right. Not the in spite of God. All right. So that's very important. All right. The New Testament reading is from 2 Corinthians chapter 2. And again, we've covered this in the other readings. We've pretty much just finished it. But just a little recap, that Paul's talking about his calling. His calling is, it's not for personal gain. It's not for look at me. It's, I serve God. Okay. The psalm for this one is Psalm 42. This is some of the sons of Korah. All right. Again, this is the priestly caste. My soul thirsts for God. Deep calls to deep. Talking about adversaries again, and then hope in God. God will bring me back. All right. Then the rich rules over the poor. The borrower is the slave of the lender. Proverbs 22. Self-explanatory. If you've got too much debt, you're ruled by your debt. Okay. All right. Later on today, I'll be recording the worship service for tomorrow. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow in the worship service and Monday back here. Have a good one.